Americans spend $60 billion a year on vitamins. Most of them don't work. But 3,400 years ago, God gave His people 5 plants that quietly solved the same problems, and we walked right past them. I want to show you something. I want to walk you through a single day in an ancient Israelite village and show you where each of these plants lived and how they used them. By the end, you will understand why entire families lived without pharmacies and what they used instead. Early morning, before the sun clears the hills. You are standing outside a small stone house in the Judean countryside. The air is cool and smells like dust and wild herbs. And the first thing you notice, before you even step inside, is the doorframe. Hanging above the entrance is a dried bundle of branches. Small woody stems with tiny leaves that still carry a sharp, minty smell, even weeks after being cut. This is hyssop, and it has been hanging over this doorway for months. The family inside is not being decorative. In Exodus 12, God told the Israelites to dip hyssop branches in lamb's blood and paint their doorframes the night the angel of death passed over Egypt. That was the first Passover. But the tradition did not stop there. In Leviticus, priests used hyssop to purify people healed from leprosy. In Numbers, it was part of the water of purification for anyone who touched a dead body. Disease, death, plague. Every time something needed to be made clean, hyssop was the plant God reached for. And the way they used it was practical. They boiled the leaves into a bitter tea to clear the chest and fight fevers. They crushed fresh leaves and pressed them against wounds to stop infection. They burned dried bundles indoors when someone in the house was sick, because the smoke seemed to push the illness out. Here is what they did not know. Researchers have since found antibacterial and antiviral compounds inside hyssop. One study showed the extract reduced viral activity by over 90%. Medieval Europeans burned hyssop during plague outbreaks. There was a saying, "Why should a man die whilst hyssop grows in his garden?" That was not superstition. That was centuries of people paying attention to what worked. And it started here, at this doorframe, 3,400 years ago. And that was just the plant hanging outside the door. You step inside. The house is one room, maybe 2. Stone walls. A dirt floor swept clean. What you are about to see inside this house is where things get expensive. Against the far wall, a small clay altar holds a few glowing coals. And on those coals, something is burning. Not wood. Something slower, thicker. A golden amber chunk of resin that sends a thin, steady ribbon of white smoke toward the ceiling. The smell fills the entire room, sweet and sharp at the same time. This is frankincense, and it is not here for decoration either. The grandmother of this family has stiff knees and swollen hands. Every morning, her daughter grinds a small piece of this resin into powder, mixes it with olive oil, and rubs the paste into the old woman's joints. Slowly, with both hands, until the skin absorbs it and the swelling begins to ease. On nights when a child is coughing and cannot sleep, they set a fresh chunk on the coals and hold the child near the smoke, letting the fumes open the lungs. When a wound will not close, they pack the powder directly into the cut. Frankincense comes from the boswellia tree. You cut the bark and a milky sap bleeds out that hardens into those golden chunks. The wise men brought it to the baby Jesus alongside gold and myrrh. That was not a random gift. Gold for a king, myrrh for burial, and frankincense for healing. A medicine chest disguised as a treasure box. Modern trials tested it on people with osteoarthritis. Patients reported less pain, less stiffness, better ability to walk. Some results matched anti-inflammatory drugs without the side effects printed on that tiny sheet of paper nobody reads. God put the answer to joint pain in a tree that bleeds gold in the desert. We put it in a pill bottle with a label that says may cause stomach bleeding. And that was just one corner of one room. You move past the altar toward the cooking area. Near the hearth, where the fire burns low all day for cooking, there is a plant growing in a clay pot on the floor. Thick, green, fleshy leaves that do not look like much. But the mother of this house keeps it within arm's reach of the fire for a reason. This is aloe. And every time someone in this family burns a hand on a hot pot or scrapes a knee on the rocky ground outside, this plant is the first thing they reach for. The mother slices a leaf open with a knife, scrapes out the clear gel, and spreads it directly on the burn. For deeper cuts, she mixes the gel with olive oil and packs it into the wound. Some healers in the village dry the resin into powder and mix it with wine for stomach problems. We squeeze aloe out of a green tube at the beach and think that is the whole story. But the aloe of the Bible was serious medicine. In John 19, after the crucifixion, Nicodemus brought 75 pounds of myrrh and aloe to prepare the body of Jesus. 75 pounds. That was a fortune. He was not wasting money. He knew what this plant could do. Modern science found over 75 active compounds inside aloe. It contains a natural anti-inflammatory that tells your immune cells to repair damaged tissue faster. Hospitals use medical-grade aloe on burn patients when conventional treatments stall. It does not mask pain the way pharmacy creams do. It speeds up the repair itself. Here is the part nobody talks about. None of this was rare. None of this was hidden. None of this was expensive or exotic or hard to find. This was normal life. Hyssop on the door, frankincense on the altar, aloe by the fire every single day. And we have not even stepped outside yet. Now you step outside into the courtyard. The sun is higher. The heat is building. And right there, in the center of the yard, stands a tree with wide, spreading branches and broad leaves that create a circle of shade underneath. A fig tree. In ancient Israel, having a fig tree in your courtyard meant God was providing. It meant stability. It meant life was as it should be. But this tree is not just shade. The mother is drying figs on a flat stone in the sun. She will press them into dense cakes that keep for months without spoiling. Travelers carry them on long journeys. Soldiers take them to war. But she also keeps a jar of mashed fig paste on a shelf inside the house. Because everybody in this village knows the same thing. If a wound gets angry, if a boil swells up, if a cut starts turning red and hot, you take that paste and press it directly into the skin. You wrap it with cloth and leave it overnight. By morning, the dead tissue has softened. The infection is drawing out. The healthy skin underneath starts to close. In 2 Kings chapter 20, King Hezekiah was dying from an infected wound. The prophet Isaiah did not just pray over him, he told the servants to take a lump of figs and apply it to the wound. And the king recovered. That sounds primitive until you learn what is inside a fig. Enzymes that break down dead tissue and pull out infection. Modern wound care has a name for this: enzymatic debridement. One of the most effective methods for cleaning wounds that will not heal, especially after 60. Doctors charge hundreds of dollars for pharmaceutical versions. Isaiah prescribed it free from the tree in the courtyard 3,000 years ago. 4 plants. We have not even sat down for dinner yet. You walk back inside. The evening meal is being prepared. A pot of lentil soup is bubbling over the low fire, and standing beside it, the mother reaches for a small clay jar on a stone shelf above the hearth. Inside, dark little seeds. She takes a pinch, drops them onto a flat stone next to the coals, and waits. Within seconds, the whole house fills with a warm, earthy smell that gets into everything. Cumin. She crushes the toasted seeds between 2 stones and drops the powder into the soup. This happens every single night. Every bowl of lentil soup in ancient Israel had cumin in it. Every kitchen smelled like it. It was in the bread, the stews, the dried meats. Jesus mentioned cumin in Matthew 23 when he criticized the Pharisees for tithing their mint, dill, and cumin, while neglecting justice and mercy. Religious leaders were counting out individual seeds to give 10% to the temple. That is how present this plant was in daily life. But cumin was not just flavor. When someone had a stomachache, the remedy was always the same. A pinch of crushed cumin in a cup of hot water. Drink it slow. Wait. For bloating after a heavy meal, cumin water. For a child crying from belly pain, cumin water with a little honey. That was the pharmacy. A clay jar of seeds and a cup of warm water. It worked almost every time. We pay $12 for a bottle of digestive enzymes. They had cumin. Growing in the garden, a pinch in the pot every night. Now step back and look at what you just saw. 1 house, 1 family, 1 ordinary day, and 5 plants woven into every corner of their life. Hyssop hanging over the door, keeping illness out. Frankincense burning on the altar, easing the grandmother's swollen joints. Aloe growing by the fire, ready for the next burn or scrape. Figs drying in the courtyard, stored as food and medicine in the same jar. Cumin on the shelf above the hearth, dropped into every meal and every cup of water given to a sick child. Infection, inflammation, healing, wound repair, digestion. 5 of the most common health problems people face after 60. Covered by 5 plants growing within 50 steps of each other. That was not an accident. We replaced all of this with shelves full of pills we do not understand, made by people we will never meet, for problems that used to be solved 50 steps from your door. And the strangest part, the garden never disappeared. We just stopped looking at it. If something clicked today, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep uncovering what God placed in plain sight, subscribe and hit the bell. Every week we find what everyone else walked right past. The garden is open. Come walk through.